And welcome back to Luminary Leaders Live. My name is Shelly Harrison and I'm your host. And today we have a wonderful show for those women out there who are really wanting to get some clarity on health. And I have a very special guest today, and her name is Dr. Afsoon, and I don't want to mess this up, Ghazvinian. You know what? I am going to mess it up. So I'm going to have her come on right now so that we can clarify that. All right. So we have Dr. Afsoon. I am so sorry. I thought I could do it, and I can't even read my own writing.
Thank you so much, Shelly. It's such a pleasure to be here. Yes, Dr. Afsoon Ghazvinian. A pleasure to be here.
Yeah, and I know that I've referred to you gracefully as Dr. Afsoon, so I certainly apologize that I couldn't say it correctly. But I definitely want to, get into this conversation and learn a little bit about you and have our audience, know the work that you do and how you're helping women across the country. And the fact that we have you, I'm super excited because we have you doing a series on Facebook that is strictly about women's health and the what women go through as we age and get into our menopause season, I must say. So let's start with with you, Dr. Afsoon, and give our audience kind of a glimpse of who you are.
Well, thank you so much, Shelly. Again, such a pleasure, such an honor to be amongst your community. And thank you for inviting me to be part of your amazing community.
Thank you.
And I think, for the most part, it's just the community that makes us stronger, sharing knowledge, bringing our experiences, bringing our own whole and authentic self is something that makes us bond and makes us kind of, in any field that we are, we connect and we basically fill the gaps in our lives. So
absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. And before I even start, I just wanted to emphasize that this is called Luminary Leaders. And to me, going through many challenges in life, I find that being called a leader is something that we all, in our lives, knowing that what we do, our work, means to some people, changing some people's lives in any way, shape, or form. It's such an amazing privilege. And it's something that doesn't happen when we start, wherever we are. And as women, I know that life throws us many challenges. For myself, my gosh, being
me too.
Exactly, very true. Like being a first generation immigrant myself, coming to Canada first with a 10-month-old baby, with no concept of language, not knowing anything about the culture, about the way of life, and knowing nothing. So anywhere we are, I think for the most part, we need to keep that vision in mind. But we know deep down in our heart of hearts what it is that is our gift. All of us have some gifts that we are born with, and gives us our identity and our unique skills that we bring in life, things that light us up. Every morning we wake up, we say, yes, this is what I want to do. But remember, this is not something that starts from the get-go. It takes many years. I think initially it begins with us soul searching, knowing what it is, listening to that inner self, what it is that really wants to thrive inside of us. And through life, through the process of everyday life, never lose sight of that goal, because we're going to get there.
Exactly. We eventually do. And especially as women, and I'm really glad that you bring this point up, because I think a lot of women who, really, like you mentioned, you went to Canada, you had a 10-month-old, and that's not easy to do, when you have an infant. And, there's a lot of things to, that challenge us, that, put us in a position where we just feel either defeated or we feel like, how am I going to get through this? And let's talk about that, because I think a lot of times, when women want to be leaders, they give it all they can give. And then, there's still things that we have to cope and deal with family and, just everything in life.
Yes, yes, for sure. And you mentioned it beautifully, the word season of life. We were talking about menopause, but
Yeah.
from the very beginning, I mean, we are in different seasons of life, I think, through our womanhood, that
Mhm.
to me, we need to really cherish and acknowledge and work with in a flow. Otherwise, we end up
Mhm.
burnout and we just really can't get to where we want to get. And knowing that life is a progression towards what we want to accomplish. So
Mhm.
as an example, myself, like, learning the language, even learning English was going through night shifts, working nighttime because the baby I had during the day, so that I could learn the language. But I knew that along the side, I want to go back and I want to be educated. I want to be a person that I can actually make a change, make an impact in my life, my family's life, and the society. So I found myself after many years of just being a stay-home mom, I gave it that time. And it's not, of course, the same for all women. We all have our own different lifestyle and life sets that we kind of work with what we have at our disposal. But for me,
Mhm.
it looked like giving it 10 years for my family to sort of get to a point that I could start taking one course here and one course there from college,
Yeah.
from like English 101 and algebra to a doctorate degree. When I graduated with my doctor of pharmacy, my son graduated from high school the year after I did. So
Oh,
it was like
wow.
everybody's coming home, doing different classes, doing like, so
Right. And
it's
he was proud of you and you were proud of him.
for sure. And
Yeah.
basically, this is a progression. And for sure, as women, we do go through a lot of challenges. And
Mhm.
we are really always the heart and the source and the soul of the family, our workplace, our friends, our loved ones. Really, we make a difference and we give from our hearts. So, really, we have to take that time to also give ourselves that grace that if we need to acknowledge a season of life, let it. And if it's time to really go for it and do things and squeeze it in our schedule and get things done, we can. We are stronger than we can ever imagine.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that you said give ourselves grace because I think, as a woman, and I'm sure you too, when you have children and you have, all the things that we're trying to juggle all at once. And a lot of women are kind of, putting the idea out that how do you balance everything? And they want to go by their own balance and not the kind of the standard balance for women. Where do you see kind of where women are today with and probably more the mature women, women, I think you work with women that are 35 and over,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
35 and over. So women that are in, 35 going, into their 50s, 60s, where do you see women going now? Not so much on the equality side, but more so with our health and our vitality. I mean, what are you seeing with women?
Oh gosh, I think especially in the last couple of years or 2 or 3 years due to pandemic, the whole change that we all experienced,
Oh, yeah.
things kind of speed up in our stress level. I see much more of women, we've seen women doing homeschooling at the same time, trying to balance
Exactly.
life and doing like remote work. And even later, I see going back again to what it was normal before. It's a challenge for children, for adults. And really, what I see is a lot of changes around us. It has been
Mhm.
so much stress, so much change, and so much adaptation to new. So definitely a lot of challenge. And that definitely affects our state of health, our mental health, our emotional health, the state of ease and restfulness that we need so much. I mean, that mindset, and that is something that is on top of the list that we need to really get that, dialed in so that we can actually tend into other aspects of health as we know it. We all know there are different things that basically contribute to our health on a daily basis. We need to put it on a schedule, but we certainly can't if we're stressed and if we haven't found that mental ease and balance and the way to somewhat sometimes let go even of being in control of everything ourselves, because we always want to do things and
it's hard to do. No.
So learning actually how to really somewhat get help, ask for help, and see how we can, as a community, help each other, and even mentally, emotionally, what are other people are doing, what are some strategies that we can bring in our lives that make it easier, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And when you were saying that, there's something that I'm thinking of, and what I think of is let it go. Just let it go. Like, and I'll give you an example. The other night, last night, in fact, I was cooking dinner, doing the dishes, after working a full day, a lot of chaos going on. Great, great chaos. I don't want to say it was hard or anything. And I just, I'm sitting there doing my thing. And then I look over at my husband. I'm like, you know what? I asked him, I said, honey, do you mind taking out the trash? Because I thought I needed to focus on cooking dinner. And normally I don't ask him. And he came over, he was so happy to do it. And I'm thinking, why don't I do that more often? And I mean, because sometimes, that he'll do it, but without me asking, but not that often. So yeah,
I think,
that's what it reminds me of.
For sure. And sometimes we don't realize how much it can give the other partner or our children pleasure to actually know that they are helping us. Because when we hold back, we don't give them that opportunity to give as well. We always tend to give, but receiving is sometimes more difficult, I found. And I've had that issue for years. And now I'm learning how wonderful it is to allow others to give, and for me to just be in the receiving and just say thank you.
Yeah.
Just say thank you.
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
It's just as simple as
it truly is. Yeah. Well, I want to take a quick moment. We're going to recognize our show sponsor. We'd like to thank Endeavor Mortgage in Seal Beach, and the VP of Endeavor Mortgage is Dan Leonard. So we want to thank Dan Leonard for his sponsorship of the show. And also, I'm here with Dr. Afsoon today. And if you have any questions, especially the ladies, if you have any questions that you'd like to ask, please put them in the chat and we'll try and get those questions answered on the show live. So Dr. Afsoon, back to you. When you think of the work that you do, when you talk about perimenopause, help us understand. Maybe some women don't understand exactly what that might be or what that entails. Let's chat about that.
Yes. And if you allow me, I'm going to give a little bit of a background about my education, because it's a little bit of an unconventional way of going into women's health. I was trained, as I mentioned, for my doctorate as a doctor of pharmacy at Temple University in Philadelphia. So I did pharmacy, and basically life took us through its own, challenges and turns and twists. And I ended up working as a pharmacist in Singapore for 10 years. So when I went to Singapore, again, taking all of what the requirements were, but I was just so wonderfully surprised in a way that their pharmacy practice was being conducted. Like, it was so different from what I was trained in. And for the most part, my pharmacy was like an open dispensary. I had people coming into me most of the day. Like, I had a 12-hour shifts. I was talking to people all day. They would come in for anything that you go to your primary doctor for. Like, you go for, cold and cough and skin rashes or smoking cessation or anything that you can imagine. And I would just, do consulting all day. And some of the medications that now we have on the regular shelf of the pharmacy that we go and grab, over in Singapore, it is called P medications that pharmacists actually give it to you with some explanation. How much do you take? When do you take it? What considerations? And I thought that was just an amazingly powerful way of serving the public, because they knew what it is, and they had somebody that they could ask questions, and they understand what it is that they actually are treating. Or at the same time, I could give lifestyle, basically advice as well. Say, okay, if you have these rashes, do you think that there are underlying maybe food allergies, or maybe some medications that you're taking giving you the rash? Or let's take a look at what else is going on.
Or the root cause, right? The root cause of what was causing it.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
Something that we don't, like small things that we don't realize, like even few pimples on the face, or, recurrent UTI, or recurrent, infections that ladies get, fungal infections. These are things
Yeah.
that sometimes we just go in and grab a medication and put a Band-Aid on. Deep down, we don't realize that there are root causes that the fungal basically infection keeps coming back. Why is it that my rash is not going away? Why is it that I'm getting hives at this time of the year, or when I'm eating this? So that really triggered an amazing change in me. I said, okay, these are really life-changing. Like these practices, these advice, it's really phenomenal. And because of the extra advice that I was giving, I would see my patients are coming in, and I have the long queue. They call the long queue, standing in front, and they would say, "Well, wait, you just do dispense your medications. We just ask you questions later." And they were willing to stand there for hours for me to.
Oh my gosh.
So, and
Wow.
that was just life-changing. And I started working with a lot of different campaigns throughout Singapore as the council member in Pharmaceutical Society of Singapore. So I got involved in a lot of different campaigns for quit smoking, for weight loss. They had a 1,000,000 kg, they would call it, weight loss campaign. So we did a lot of initiative throughout the island of Singapore. And that was the seed for me to understand, okay, preventative health is so much more effective when it comes to chronic diseases. And what we just talked about, plus diabetes, plus high blood sugar, plus high blood pressure, plus anything that we, all the autoimmune diseases, they are chronic diseases, they're lifestyle diseases, in other words, and we can only treat them completely with lifestyle changes. So that was a takeaway for me.
Wow. And that, I love that you see that. And that was something that was, so apparent to you, because really, when you think about it, a lot of those things are lifestyle conditions,
Yes.
the things that we eat, the lack of exercise, and especially as women, because I know you work with a lot of women, we have so much on our plate that, we don't think, gosh, I don't have enough time to work out, or I don't have enough time to meditate, or, I don't have enough time to read a book, where we have to prioritize ourselves to give that nourishment so that we don't get sick, and eat healthier and not processed foods, and eat more fruits and vegetables, but then again, there's also things out there about, about our food chain supply, so it's like, there's so many just, disruptive things in our environment that who do we listen to, right?
Oh, it gets very confusing. And I think simple things gets really, overwhelming amount of information. And there's so many different, trains of thoughts and leadership in different, ways of doing healthy living, that simple things gets really complicated. And when we're talking about women's health, and definitely for women, it's a huge challenge with everything that we have. We wear many hats. We are really that sandwich generation that we talk about, right? We have a lot of times our children, when we are in this transition to menopause, we call it a transition because it takes between 7 to 14 years for us women to hit menopause. It's not like overnight and we're getting to that point. So through this transition, really, we are going through so much. Our bodies is changing on a daily basis. Our hormones are declining, and we feel those symptoms that we feel. But at the same time, imagine our career are usually in a place that we really have to hustle to get to the next step. And then we want to get that seat on the table. We want to get to the next promotion or the next level of our career because we work so hard for it. And it's still harder for us women, definitely, to get to that next step comparing with men. So that's one. Then we're talking about home. You just mentioned dinner last night. All of us come home, what do we do? Like after the whole day, we keep that responsibility to us. Okay, I need to pray. I've done it for many years. I came back from a whole day of school and work, and I still till night prepare and food and children's, events and classes and even parties, like family parties. They're tiring. I mean, yes, they're parties, but they're
it can be. It really,
exactly. And then on top of it, like a lot of times we have our elderly to take care of. So that is really the sandwich generation. So certainly there's a lot of pressure for us women. And those changes that we experience during menopause is because I have, my focus on menopause, perimenopause, and menopause is because of the gap in knowledge that I felt myself. Like as a professional, I didn't know what was going on. Like I was around 47, and we're talking about like 7 years ago. And I'm thinking that, okay, I have a healthy lifestyle. Like I'm teaching my clients and I'm doing the best that I can, but it's not really doing what it was doing like 2 or even a year ago. Like I'm still, gaining weight. I'm bloated all the time. I'm feeling so tired. Like, I'm kind of feeling depressed at times, or I'm anxious, or I can't sleep at night. And these are domino effects, flashes, night sweats, really. And, so basically, that's something that I felt we don't have enough knowledge around. And I started digging more into science, into practice, and finding the best, basically most powerful and impactful ways that we can incorporate in our busy daily lifestyle. Like, it has to be practical. Whatever we do for our health and well-being has to be practical at the end of the day, so we can do it.
It absolutely does. And, and like you were saying, here you are, school and work and, coming home. I mean, what can women do? Are there some things that they can do, especially if they're perimenopausal or they're already, kind of in menopause? What are some of those things that we could do to really kind of just, okay, I got this. And I'm not going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to deal with it, and I'm going to have a happy face doing it.
Absolutely. And I think for the most part, as I mentioned, the mindset is the big part. For one thing, understanding that we are all going through this natural transition, and depending on where we are in life, our state of health, our state of past, trauma, or all of these things really affect our mental states, our emotional states, because menopause itself is a huge complex of physical, mental, emotional changes for us. It's not just the physical change of hormones going down. It's not.
Right.
It's really when the hormones start to decline, those hormones are the hormones of engagement and always working towards getting our job and getting our family set up and getting married and all of those things that started from the very beginning. But at this point, when the hormones starts coming down, we see that they almost like that cover that would, we wouldn't really see the past experiences or things that really from our present life are bothering us, and we tolerate them and we don't tend to them. They seem that they actually come up at this time. So really, emotional health is so important for us to acknowledge that this is part of me. And if I want to really, and usually we're almost like midway through life at this point, right? Or a little bit past mid. We have so much ahead of us still. There's so many more years. And if we really want to live really happy and content and without any, anger or sadness or disappointment or grief beyond this is the time, ladies. Like,
yes.
Yeah,
and it's really a time to be grateful. I mean, I know that there are a lot of things going on in so many people's lives right now. And, if you just think about it, we're not a third world country. And my heart goes out to third world countries, that don't have what we have, I guess I could say. And, being grateful is something that as women, I'm grateful that, that I can do certain things and, just the simple things that other people really don't have access to.
Oh my gosh, this is huge. And you just mentioned it beautifully, Shelley. Thank you so much for bringing this up, because they've done studies actually, and they've seen that when we meditate, even for a short time, and when we do gratefulness, and when we show our gratefulness to somebody, maybe we write a short note in the middle of our busy day to somebody to say thank you, or to our spouse to say thank you for taking the garbage out last night. I really
oh, that's a good idea.
That little thing, even if they're not in front of us at that moment, it really helps us to bring up those hormones of rejuvenation, immunity, happiness, and healing in our bodies. These are like we were getting our serotonin and oxytocin, and all of these things start to rise, and it's been shown really with the studies. So gratefulness is an amazing little pause that can be done in the morning when we wake up, can be done during the day when we have a minute between our meetings, or when we're sitting in the car or waiting for our tea kettle to, just kind of boil. Just, gratefulness for what we have, and, sending also thank and gratitude to other people that are in our lives is such a powerful, powerful practice. Yes.
Oh, most definitely. And we're going to give some, I'm going to express some gratefulness right now with our dear friend, Mary Sadat.
Yes.
She is one of my colleagues and one of yours, and she so eloquently put us together via email. And, here now we have you on the show. We have you doing a series on the Global Women's Networking Group on Facebook. And I mean, it's a beautiful thing, and it just goes to show that anything is possible, where we didn't know each other prior. And, here we are, and you're able to share your gifts and talents, with the world, because truly this is something that, anybody has access to and can learn from you.
Oh, thank you so much, Shelley. And for your gifts, for providing this platform so gracefully, and for bringing us together is really a huge, huge gift, as you just mentioned beautifully. So thank you for all that your work as well. And certainly thank you, Mary, for bringing us together. So the whole community aspect and the whole women empowering women, for the most part. I mean, we're empowering our community, men and women, doesn't matter. They are our allies.
Yeah, we love our men too.
For sure.
Most definitely.
Again, the sisterhood is something in a different level.
It is. It's a special, special place. Womanhood, sisterhood, our tribe, our community. There are so many different ways to express it. And, we've talked a little bit about men, and kind of a final question, because I know we're coming to the end of the broadcast, but I wanted to ask, those of us who have a significant other, what do you recommend to them to help us, meaning to help us cope with every day? Is there anything in particular that you'd want to share?
Yes, I think being open to this change, and I think understanding that, and then again a lot of knowledge and a lot of understanding for them, because they also don't really know. Us as women, we don't really know what we're going through. A lot of times there's a lot of fear. Yeah, we don't know. We say,
so true. Yeah, that's so true.
Why is my body is changing? Why is my emotions are all over the place? Why is my mental, and my memory and everything else is changing? And understanding that these are all physical challenges that are really mental brain centers are going through changes literally through this transition because of decrease in all of those estrogen, progesterone, testosterone. Our body is really going through a big change. So I think the understanding of and being open to communicate more and be a good listener for the most part, and be our allies, just kind of
that's perfect. Yeah. So now we've made it possible for the men in our lives and our significant others to really tune into this and listen, because that's important, the communication, and be open to, the changes that their, partner's going through. And I think it makes for a much better relationship.
I think it does. And I mean, in all aspects, when we're talking about different aspects of change that we go through, maybe we were tired through this time, we may need to have that understanding. Also, when it goes to, emotional changes that they go through, as well as even in intimacy, for men to know how to, really support their partner at this time. So everybody really go through this with the same understanding, and really enjoy this time of life as it should be enjoyed.
Oh, most definitely. And, Dr. Afsoon, I want to thank you so much for being on Luminary Leaders Live. This was a fun topic. And I want you to come back. We'll have to have you back on the show, in a little bit, and see what you're up to and what's happening. And I know that, this, in terms of people getting a hold of you, I know that you wanted people to kind of connect with you on LinkedIn. We want them to. And we put your LinkedIn profile here on the screen. And if you want to grab people that are out there that are wanting to have a conversation with Dr. Afsoon or reach out, please feel free to take a snapshot when the profile comes up, which there it is. It's coming up right there. And there it is. And definitely reach out to Dr. Afsoon. And again, just closing comment. Do you want to make any closing comments, Dr. Afsoon?
I think just to put it back together from where we started, never lose sight of the strength and the source of energy and love that you are. Believe in that, as the transition in life going, it gets even more rewarding, it gets more beautiful and more peaceful once we really get into flow with what our changes are going through. And I think that's the best gift that we can give ourselves as women. And in the meantime, if there are any questions coming up, also my email, we can put it down later on, basically in the chat.
Definitely. We'll add that to the show notes. I'll make sure we put that in there. And your Instagram. I know you mentioned your Instagram. So what is your Instagram?
I do actually put information, the same Dr. Afsoon Ghazvinian on Instagram. So I do normally post on regular basis. So please follow that, ask questions, let this community be stronger with all of us in it, holding hands and keeping each other high in this amazing energy that we feel. So thank you so much, Shelley. That was such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Dr. Afsoon. This was wonderful. And you're such a wonderful guest. And I want to thank you for being on the show. And we want to thank those folks that are tuning in or you're catching this after with the replay. And remember to subscribe to Luminary Leaders Life so you could see this show. And we want to thank our sponsor, Endeavor Mortgage, who is Dan Leonard. He's the vice president with Endeavor Mortgage in Seal Beach. And if you want to connect with Dan, reach out to me, but we want to thank him for his ongoing sponsorship. And we will catch you next time. Dr. Afsoon, thanks again. And we are very happy that you were here, and we look forward to having you back on the show at a later time.
My pleasure, Shelley. Thank you so much.
Thank you.